This is a Momentum Media production.
Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show, the podcast by investors for investors.
Oh, g'day. How you going? Phil Tarrant. I am the host of the Smart Property Investment Show. I hope you're well. Spent a lot of time in my youth, not in Australia. For those that know of me, I spent about a decade being a bit of a ragtag, out of a country, young Australian, trying to find my way. Lots of different jobs in lots of different countries and lots of different experience, which is cool. I now call Australia home, but if things went a different way, I probably would have found myself living outside of Australia, living the expat life. But, I'm quite happy with my lot in life, what I do here in Australia. It's pretty cool. But I often think about all of our listeners in other parts of the far-flung world, and Aussies pretty well regarded globally for our tenacity and our professionalism, how we go about working effectively. And I know for a lot of Aussies, they've chosen for a period of time at least to call somewhere else home, even though they fondly always look back to the great nation of this Australia. But these expats are thinking about the future. They're trying to make the right financial decisions now. And I know a lot of my expat friends who live in places like Dubai and Singapore and elsewhere, pretty cushy tax arrangements, and they're putting a lot of money into their bank account. They're not too sure where to spend it. So I get a lot of feedback from people internationally who listen to the Smart Property Investment Show and helping and using this to help inform themselves on making investment decisions. So today I wanted to talk about expats, particularly how they can go about securing finance. Joining me in the studio, Eva Lawrence from Finny Mortgages, finny.com.au. Eva, how you going? You well?
Good, thank you. Thanks, Joel. Yeah, really happy to chat about expats today. We have more and more coming through with, a lot of questions. So I think it's a really good time.
Yeah,
really good time.
I know. And a lot of expats, are buying in Australia. They're leveraging what is often really good income potential in countries other than Australia, and also very efficient and effective and favorable tax situations. They've got money to burn. Are you an expat, Eva? Do you still think yourself as an expat living in Australia, or Australian now? Who'd you follow who'd you follow for the football the other week?
I did. I did. But as I said to many people, I would just go for the winner. And, team that suited me at the time. So it was great. Look, to be fair, I was happy for whoever won. So, yeah. It's
good to see the French beaten. So, but you're not a French expat anymore. You're just an Aussie, right?
Yeah. Look, I wouldn't call friends home anymore.
No.
I like to visit and go on holidays, but yeah. Australia is definitely
strange anyway. So a lot of people do that. They live abroad for a little while, but expats living and working overseas, do you get a lot of these type of queries coming through to Finny Mortgages?
Yeah, we actually got a few in the last 6 months or so, because obviously the rates have gone up. People are finishing up fixed terms or interest-only terms, and the rates for expat are just outrageous. So we have a lot of them just checking what they can do.
Yeah, and just because you're not in Australia, it doesn't mean you're not dialed into what interest rates movements are here. And, this is around mortgages. I don't want this to be around the interest rate discussion. I think there's plenty of that still to play out. But I would add that I think we're towards the top of the rate cycle. Are we at the terminal rate? Probably not. There might be another one, if not two, but probably not the same speed as what those rates have been happening up and down and left and right and rising over the last year or so. But Eva, okay, let's have a chat about expats. And you're saying that a lot of them looking to refinance to a better rate or reset after interest only, but also they're screwing away money and they're thinking about how do they deploy it effectively. So it can be harder to get Australian lenders to recognize international income. But once you satisfy them that you're a good bet and you're an Aussie citizen and all that sort of stuff, it can be reasonably straightforward. So let's have a chat through some case studies. We'll just go to a break beforehand. Stay with us, everyone. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Phil Tarrant from Finny Mortgages, chatting with Eva at Finny Mortgages, finny.com.au. Eva, before we get into some examples, case studies around expats, how's business at the moment? You guys still flat stick? I know you got some new brokers coming down line. Are you keeping them busy?
Yes, we've been actually really busy in the last few months, as we've seen really aggressive offering from quite a few lenders trying to pick up refinances. And, we discussed the buffer rate being lower, and now we're actually seeing banks coming to low, buffer, also for purchases. So it's aggressive. It's getting aggressive. So I think the market's going to reopen and it's going to be easier soon for people to start investing again.
So what, lenders are going to be more accommodating around serviceability?
Yes. It's, what we start to see happening, and more are joining the train. So it's going to become easier. I can see that everywhere. Yeah, and we started with 2-3 lenders, and now we've got 6 on board. So it's definitely going to get easier. And again, as I said I think it was the last podcast, if you haven't reviewed your capacity in the last 2 months or so, check again, because things have changed.
At a refinancing level.
Refinancing, and now actually Pepper Money is actually on board for purchases on 1% buffer assessment rate, which is a huge opportunity for people that really want to get in. That opens doors for sure.
There you go. Well, that's a nice little plug for Pepper, the good people at Pepper. I've got a Pepper mortgage. Yep. Give me a cheaper rate if you feel like a Pepper. I'd love that. But anyway, but this is the point, and there's a lot of stuff. You just go into social media these days and everyone's talking about this interest rate cliff that I think there's 1.3 million households are going to come off fixed rate to variable between now and the end of the financial year or thereabouts. So those numbers a bit rubbery, but pretty close. So speak to your mortgage broker, the team at Finny Mortgages, happy to have a chat with you, or speak to your broker if you've already got one. Like, you've got to get on top of this stuff because it can save you literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of bucks. Talk to me, Eva, around Jeremy in Dubai. Jeremy in Dubai sounds like a made up example.
No.
Is it a real case study?
I changed his first name. Anyway, we wouldn't know who he is, but he is happy to use this scenario, but didn't want to share, everything. So I just changed the name, and his first name starts with a J, and I thought, let's go with Jeremy.
Okay, so Jay in Dubai is probably tuning into this right now on the Smart Property Investment Show. Hello, yes. Jay. Thanks for and I like Dubai. Dubai's a cool town or city. Have you been to Dubai, Eva?
Yeah.
It's a real mix of the modern and the new and the old. But if you haven't been to Dubai, find an excuse to travel through it on the way somewhere. You might even get stuck there as an expat like Jeremy, making a few bucks. Tell me about Jeremy.
So yeah, Jeremy, he's your typical Aussie. He's an engineer. He's got lots to go, I guess, for him in terms of work opportunities, and he just picked up some work there, with the infrastructure boom that's happened or is happening in Dubai. So he decided to just go for it, and it's been 8 years already.
8 years in Dubai.
He's still there. It's been 8 years. He loves it. Obviously it's quite cushy. His employer pays for accommodation, transport, and most, of his living expenses. So literally everything he earns, he can save, and it's a high-paying job. Yeah. So
what sort of money do you make? Can you disclose that?
It would be close to 350.
Okay, Aussie. Tax free.
Tax free.
Mate, he must have a massive portfolio in Australia, does he? Or he wants to?
No, it doesn't. Look, he bought his home before he went to Dubai and did nothing else because he thought that, he's not living here anymore, so he can't do anything here.
Okay. So what's he do with all his dough?
Sure, it's in a nice saving account.
This is that all? God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of missed opportunity there. Yeah.
So when did Jeremy reach out with you guys? How did he find Finny? What's the backstory?
Yeah, so he actually has, he had a home here, a house that he turned into an investment property when he left Dubai, and that loan was on a fixed term, interest only, and that just ended, like a few months ago. So he went to his lender, ING, and tried to reset the interest only period for cash flow, even though he doesn't really need cash flow. But, that's what most investors would do. And she said, "Look, sorry, you're an expat now. We basically don't really want to deal with you." And so he got stuck, and he just called us to see, look, is there anything else I can do?
Sorry, who's the lender? ING. Not a beat up on. Okay, there's not a beat up on ING at all. But what ING said was, no, you're an expat, so no.
They don't do expat, ING in general. So when he got his lending, it obviously wasn't an expat.
But they're happy to retain him as a customer paying what he's paying right now, but they don't want to change his makeup.
That's right.
Okay, I sort of get that, if that's the rules.
And that's common. Look, if your situation has changed to when you got the loan, it doesn't mean they can help you again. So And look, that's fine. And he was happy to sort of let it go. But he thought, let's get a second opinion.
Okay. And then he had a chat with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's work out the solution. We'll just go to another break, because if we don't go to a break, I'm getting in trouble. Our production team, stay with us. Back in a moment. Welcome back, Phil from Smart Property Investment, Eva from Finny Mortgages. What was the solution for Jeremy in Dubai? So ING, happy to keep him paying the mortgage, won't let him change it. So he's got to find another solution. Spoke to you guys, and you said something special and magical. Did you fix the problem?
Yeah, so it was on 8.4% P&I.
8.4% P&I.
Yeah, insane. So it wasn't too hard to do better, to be honest on that one. So we just first organized the refinance back to interest only variable, and you got a rate of 6.64%, so much better. Competitive.
How much debt did he have on the place here in Australia?
780.
Okay, so he had 780 in debt, paying 8.8 something, right?
Yeah.
So principal and interest. So you probably saved a few bucks on his monthly interest repayment, thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So at this stage, the rent still doesn't cover the repayments, but it's much better for his cash flow. And on top of that, which he didn't know, is expat can invest in Australia. Okay. You can be living overseas, working overseas, and still invest. So we had the discussion, and he was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to invest my money just sitting there in offset, so in savings. And he just wanted to have a go at that. So we actually released some equity in his property. Value of his property was over 1.7 million. So we had plenty there to play with. And we also organized a pre-approval for him to buy a property. So at the end of the day, that phone call for him was great, because he's starting to understand that he can do a lot with his money. And that even though he's not in Australia, he can still benefit from the Australian market.
Is he going to have to use a buyer's agent or someone to help him? Like, it's going to be hard for him to buy a property. I know that's sort of good business for buyer's agents.
Yeah. So we gave him a few names to play with and see, who he would, get along with better. And then
so you suggested a handful of buyer's agents that you guys work with, and said, look, have a chat with them if you like one of them. They're completely separate to you guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So a few names that we work with often, and we know they do good work. So yeah. So
sounds like good. So he's happy. How'd you go, like signing paperwork and all that sort of stuff remotely? It's pretty easy these days.
Yeah, we've got what they call e-sign, DocuSign, so you can do everything regardless where you are.
So the rules changed during COVID, where you actually had to go and sit in front of someone and they had to watch you sign a piece of paper. I remember I got photos of me sitting in our boardroom here signing mortgage documents, like where I'd done like 5. I'd bought like an apartment block that had 5 loans, and then you've got guarantor documents, loan documents, all this. I remember sitting there just going, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, thanks, Bobby, for that. To be fair, that helped a lot to get banks on board with e-sign. Now it's across the board, and it's saving so much time, and it's less mistakes as well. So everything is quicker and easier.
So it all sounds pretty straightforward, but I imagine there's a fair degree of complexity, because your income isn't generated in Australia. So that would make lenders a bit nervous. And then also, if your income is in a foreign currency, and you have the dirham in Dubai, or if you're in Singapore dollar, or if you're in America, the American dollar, or any other currency, there's a currency risk as well. So how do the banks view income? Probably not favorably, or they put a discount on it.
Not favorably, yes. So that's why I think it's important to discuss, because first of all, not all lenders would do expat, as we discussed, and not all of them do it, in a good way. So if you have a lender that do expat, but you feel like you're a bit stuck with them, you might check again, because some of them would take 80% of your net income, some of them would take 90% of your net income, some of them would do up to 60, 70 or 80% LVR, which can change.
So they'll do 100% of your income, but 60% LVR, whereas others will go 80% of your income, but 80% LVR. So there's different rules. And which lender did you recommend for Jeremy? Who did he go with?
So he went with Macquarie.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All these lenders getting plugs all over the joint here. Macquarie getting a plug. Are they good for expat lending?
Yeah, look, they're good. They're not the most generous, to be honest.
Yeah.
But they've got that good rates for him, and his income is so ample, I guess, for what he wants to do, that it wasn't an issue. If he was a bit tight, that's probably not where we would have gone for him. But they're one of the lenders that work well. The majors do it okay. But obviously, when you want to start to go outside of the, I guess, that's 70% LVR and 80% of your income, that's where you need to be a bit more creative and go to second tier lender or lenders that can do more. Also, historically, only employees could do that, expat employees. And we now have lenders that can look at self-employed expat, which is a big game changer. That wasn't the case. We only had Latrobe that could do that, but we've got other options now. And a big thing that happened as well is we can look at low doc self-employed expat, which is like,
wow, who's doing that? I learn something new every time I talk to you, Eva. Who's doing low doc self-employed expats?
Yeah, that's a pretty big one. So they are a lender called Brighton. They've only been around for like 6 years or so, but are doing really good outside the box lending.
And the thing is that for Australian expats, yes, you always do an expat as someone working for a big global company sort of somewhere, but you often find that Aussie expats are out there doing interesting things globally in sometimes, countries that aren't like Singapore, right? In some of the, third world countries and developing countries. So it's a very different paradigm. Aussies operate really well as expats, but traditionally not in only traditional employment. So, for Aussies still able to make some good bucks outside of Australia and park that money back in Australian real estate with lenders who view that irrespective of what the complexity of the makeup is, that's super encouraging. So I guess the thing is, for all those Aussies tuning into this all over the world, which I know there is, tens of thousands of you that do that, get in touch with the guys at Finney Mortgages if you're struggling getting a home loan. I imagine you can help them out.
Yeah, definitely. So not just to get home loans, but also to review the home loans they may have and haven't touched for years. And they're probably like, Jeremy in Dubai at 8+%, which is, it's just not needed.
So you shouldn't be penalised being an expat paying inflated rates. You can still compete with your peers that live back here. Yeah.
So a lot of lenders actually don't have any loading for them. They make it harder to get the loan, but they don't have to pay extra. So if you're paying over like 6.5, it's worth checking what can be done.
Okay, right. Well, you're probably going to get an influx of expats trying to track you down who are angry about paying huge rates, or they're cashed up and they're ready to because you often find with Aussie expats as well, they like being expats, but there's always this view that I will go back to Australia one day, or Australia's a place where I want to raise my children, or Australia's a place where I want to retire and have a more simpler life, because living in other parts of the world can take its toll on a lot of people, or there's certainly a timeline to it as well. So start thinking about that today. And if you can do it through investing in property, everything still applies. You're investing in Australian property. So there's hundreds of podcasts you can listen to around that. Eva, how do people get in touch with you and your team?
Yeah. So just log into finney.com.au. There is a form just with name, number, and a bit of a story, and then we'll get in touch with you to book an appointment with a broker.
Excellent. Nice one. Eva, thanks again. And I've said it a lot. We're nearly there right now. How are my loans going with Finney Mortgages? Are they nearly ready? Can I talk about it yet?
Yes, you can talk about it. It's getting, it's pretty much there. It turns out that private lending might be a bit slower than what we want. So we can talk about private banking shortly as well.
Well, yeah, and this is it. I'm very conscious that I probably have more of a sophisticated structure than most investors. And going down that private lending pathway is good, but there's pros and cons with everything. So we can have a chat about that. But anyway, all right, that's the team over at Finney Mortgages. Stand by. I'll tell you how we're going on the Smart Property Investment Show. I know I've been talking about it for a while. A lot of it's been delayed with me just not getting info, but I finally got it all sorted out. So we're not far away. Check that out. Remember to check out smartpropertyinvestment.com.au, social media, Smart Property HQ. We'll see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property, or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.